Hey folks, I'm Tony. So super excited that you're here today. We are wrapping up a series on friendship today called Circles. And since we're talking about friendships, I want to ask you a question about friends. Have you ever had a friendship that changed, shifted, looked different? A friendship that once was super great but suddenly just wasn't so great? I mean, I know I have. So here's the deal. I'm hanging in a park right now, and there are some kids playing right over there. And you know what it made me think about? My childhood friends. I remember in elementary school, I had this best friend in the whole wide world. Her name was Raven. I mean, we did everything together. Slumber party, we ate the same stuff, we wore the same clothes. We definitely twinned a whole bunch in elementary. But when we got to middle school, the opportunities were endless to get involved. Well, I was an extrovert and Raven was an introvert. And here's the deal. As an extrovert, I wanted to be a part of everything. I wanted to be in the cheerleading team, the debate team. I was even playing volleyball a little bit. Well, Raven was an introvert and she was not interested in any of the activities. Raven and I kept going back and forth. I mean, sometimes we'd spend lots of time with each other, and then sometimes we couldn't because I was in all these organizations. And eventually, unfortunately, our friendship was lost. Now, in your world, friendships are probably one of the most important things. The way your friendships are going has the potential to totally make or break your day. It sort of feels like a back and forth balancing act, doesn't it? Okay, let me just show you what I mean. I got this cute little balancing act scale thingy-majig. That's what we're gonna call it, all right? Here's what happens. There are small things that happens day to day in your friendships that can make you feel really good or really bad. Now, if your friend doesn't show up at youth group, it ruins your day because now who are you gonna sit with? So, it goes into the negative side. But when your friend wants to spend the whole afternoon skateboarding with you, they made positive side. But when your friend posts a picture on social media with everyone hanging out without you, straight FOMO, going in the negative side. For sure. But when they go out of their way to make a bad day feel better, that's the best. That is the best. Positive side. Now, of course, we only want healthy, positive things to happen in our friendships, right? But as you probably already know, that's not always the case. We're not always balanced when it comes to our friendships. And the reality is, as great as the great days are with the people in your circle, the bad days still come. And because of that, friendships can get complicated. Whether it's an old friend, a new friend, or a could-be friend, sometimes friendships shift. People change. Negative. Circumstances change. Interests change. Behaviors change. Maybe you even start seeing qualities in a friend that you've never seen or noticed before. Negative. And because of that, the friendship starts to just feel different and there's a shift, and that doesn't feel so good. Usually, the friendship feels unbalanced and maybe even bad for you. And when you experience a shift like that in your circle, you usually have a few options. You could ignore it and hope it just goes away. Spoiler alert, never just goes away. You could talk to your friend about the change you're feeling or the concerns you have and try to work it out, or you could just step back from a friendship that's no longer good for you. Okay, so options 1 and 2 probably make sense to you. Ignore it, hope it goes away. We've all tried that. Talk to a friend even though it's hard to do. Well, it may not be that easy, but we can do that. But step back from the friendship and make a move away from that person, that one might not be so clear. I think that's because adults don't often talk with teenagers about how to step back from a friendship. They don't always tell you that sometimes it's okay to walk away from a friendship that's no longer good for you. I mean, maybe you've heard your parents say that before, and I'm here to tell you that they are in fact right. You can actually walk away from a friendship that feels unbalanced or unhealthy. Now, I know this might seem like an unchristian thing to do, but trust me, it's not. In fact, it's actually a really healthy and good thing to learn to do even in middle school. And for the rest of your life, you'll be in friendships that will have ups and downs, and some of them might even come to an end. I mean, it may not always be something bad happened, like someone telling a lie or hurting your feelings or making a choice you don't agree with. Sometimes it just happens. Sometimes you just have to step back from a friendship you realize is just no longer good for you. Notice that I said, step back from the friendship that is no longer good for you. That good for you part is pretty important. I'm not telling you to step back from friendships just because you have one fight or a rough patch in your friendships. I'm telling you to step back when you know the friendship isn't good for you. When you know the relationship is no longer healthy. If you feel like you can't be yourself with a friend, or you can't be honest with them about what you feel, or maybe you can't trust them to keep your secrets, or you even feel pressured to be their one and only friend, well, it might be time to stop and think about if that relationship or friendship is still good for you. Of course, that doesn't mean your friend is a bad person. I mean, it just means that something in your friendship has shifted in such a way that makes it no longer good for you or healthy for your life right now. And when you realize that, you have to do something about it. If all this friendship ending talk is just like bumming you out, let me just stop here and give you some good news. It doesn't necessarily mean the end of your relationship. It just means a change. And the good news for us is that we aren't the first people on earth to experience this kind of friendship tension. In fact, today we're gonna look at two great friends in the Bible who went through the very same thing, Paul and Barnabas. So Paul and Barnabas were a dynamic duo, ride or die. Friends on a worldwide mission to help people understand what faith in Jesus could do for them. They dedicated their lives to spreading the heart and message of Jesus. And honestly, they were a pretty solid team. Paul was super intelligent, hardworking, and really motivated. Barnabas was loyal, and his name meant son of encouragement, so he was like probably good at encouraging people and lifting them up. I mean, even though they were different, these two guys were like two pieces of a puzzle. Their friendship just fit. Well, Paul and Barnabas spent most of their time traveling together to start new churches. Remember, this was like thousands of years ago. There weren't like fancy planes to take or great hotels to stay in on a fun road trip. I mean, traveling back then was a little different. Mostly Paul and Barnabas walked a lot. They slept on the ground under the night sky or in the home of a stranger who had welcomed them in. There was nothing glamorous about their road trips together. Even though they'd been traveling together for a long time as friends, Paul and Barnabas still argued from time to time. I mean, don't we all fight with our friends every once in a while? But one day, they got into an argument that changed their friendship. It caused a shift in their circle. Here's what happened. Sometime later, Paul said to Barnabas, "Let us go back and visit the believers in all the towns where we preach the word of the Lord and see how they are doing." Barnabas wanted to take John, also called Mark, with them. But Paul did not think it wise to take him because he had deserted them in Pamphylia and had not continued with them in the work. Okay, so these two guys basically had a disagreement about another friend in their circle, a guy named John Mark. Barnabas seemed to believe that even though John Mark had abandoned the work they were doing together in the past, he deserved a second chance. But Paul, looking at John Mark's past actions, was certain that history could repeat itself. Would repeat itself. Here, we see Paul and Barnabas, two friends, two different people, two different perspectives. Let's see what happened next. They had such a sharp disagreement that they parted company. Barnabas took Mark and sailed for Cyprus, but Paul chose Silas and left, commended by the believers to the grace of the Lord. Plot twist! Paul and Barnabas got into such a bad argument that they decided to go their separate ways. I mean, that's a huge deal. These two friends who had lived so much life together, they had a history with each other. But then, the relationship shifted. And in that moment, Paul and Barnabas had to focus on what was best for them right then. And for them, it was spreading the message of Jesus. In order to keep doing that, they had to take a step back. They had to choose different paths. They had to shift. Shifting their friendship didn't ruin their lives. In fact, it actually straightened and helped other people's lives. Because they made the shift in their friendship, Paul and Barnabas were able to keep going in their mission to share the heart of Jesus with others. They were able to increase their circles of faith tremendously. Now, I'm sure it must not have been easy to make the hard decision to shift their relationship in that moment, but by doing so meant that Paul and Barnabas could keep moving toward good things in the future. And what I love is that these two BFFs didn't let their personal disagreement start a war between them. They didn't ask their friends to take sides. They didn't bash each other. They didn't try to damage each other's mission or reputation along the way. Instead, they simply stepped back and moved on. And here's what I think we can learn from Paul and Barnabas when we find ourselves in similar situations. Be friendly when your circles change. Be friendly when your circle changes. When a friendship needs to shift, it doesn't mean your attitude towards that person has to shift. You don't have to cut them off or ask your friends to ice them out or post nasty things about them on your Insta. Instead, it means you can make the choice to let the friendship change, to shift the way your relationship looks while still being kind toward the other person. You can be friendly when your circle changes. Now, what does this all mean for you? Well, I'd say you have to start by honestly evaluating your circle. Do you have friends in your life who you know aren't good for you right now? People in your life who aren't helping you make healthy and wise choices? Be honest with yourself about that. You can start by asking yourself these questions. Do I feel like I can be myself around this person? Do I trust my friend to talk kindly about me when I'm not around? Do I feel like this friend only calls me when they're in need or wants my help? Do they push my boundaries or disrespect what I think is right? Do their words build me up or tear me down? Do I feel pressured to be their friend? If you still have trouble figuring out if a friendship is healthy, think about asking a trusted adult like your small group leader to help you see your friendships more clearly. In fact, don't make any decision about shifting or ending any friendships until you talk to that wise adult in your life. They can see the situation more clearly, and their wisdom can help you know what the right next step might be for your friendships. Then, if you find yourself in a friendship that doesn't bring out the best in you, make a step to make a change. Of course, that isn't going to be easy, but I promise you it's a healthy step to take. Remember, just because the friendship has to change doesn't mean it has to end. Maybe the shift in your friendship simply means you spend less time with that person. Sure, they can sit with you at lunch or come to your birthday party or hang out in your larger friend group, but maybe having them spend the night at your house or sharing personal secrets or asking for their advice isn't a good idea anymore. Or maybe you're in a situation where a bigger shift needs to happen. Maybe you need to have an honest conversation with a friend about how you feel. The wisdom of a trusted adult in your life can help you navigate a conversation like that. Quick hint for you, your small group leader is a great person to talk to about this very thing. Remember, the shift doesn't mean they're a bad person. It just means something in your friendship has changed, and whatever that is, isn't the best thing for you right now. And finally, when a friendship shifts in a big or small way, don't forget, choose kindness. You may not be BFFs anymore, or the friendship might just look a little different, but you can still choose to respect the other person and treat them with compassion and maturity. Remember, you can be friendly when your circle changes. And I want all of you to have the courage to do just that. Because when you do, you're making a decision to move toward what's good and healthy for your life right now. As we wrap up today, I want you to take a moment and think about this question. What's one way I can tell that a friendship isn't good for me right now? Go.